we have with us here the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Nelfund, Mr. PoliticsToday Sawyer. Right here, Mr. Sawyer, good to have you.
Thank you.
Here.
Good to be here.
And I know you've been seeing those questions and concerns being raised about the loan. Another part talks about appointment of recruits. They say after over a year of appointment, in letters which you signed, and I'm glad you're here,
yes,
the recruits are yet to get jobs.
Right.
So let's start from there, and then we can go to the issue of the payout and some issues on social media.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And as you rightly pointed out, Nelfund is very topical. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has done something revolutionary. He's come up with this Nelfund program. And of course, everybody is interested in getting involved. Everybody is interested in understanding whether it's real or not. Everybody is interested in knowing whether there's a future to it. What I can tell you is for that reason, there are lots of questions, lots of queries, lots of chatter. The way it's working at the moment is that we started with a long-term plan. And if you read the mandate, it mandates us to provide educational support, financial support for those going to tertiary institutions, universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. It also has a provision for us to support skills acquisition. So all our plans, everything we've done has been geared towards meeting that mandate, including the recruitment of staff and also setting up of regional offices. Now, I can tell you that for one or two reasons, some of those things have been held up, and it has clearly affected our timetabling. What I can tell you is that the intentions are good, and our objective is always to make good on our promises. I can't really say much more than that on the subject of the recruits, but our intentions as Nelfund are good. And we're following the mandate, and if we follow the mandate given to us by the National Assembly, we are in order to bring in.
Yeah, but I mean, you would understand when people want more. Okay, even if you can tell us what has happened to cause the delay, what is the plan, to move forward for progress? At least people should know that.
So, anywhere in the world, if you make any sort of offer to someone, you caveat it by saying, we will contact you when the time is right. Okay? And that's essentially what will happen. When the time is right, provided that people meet up with the criteria, we also have a very robust screening process. And I don't know what and who's affected by the screening so far, but we're constantly screening those that we may have appointed when we first started. But in the fullness of time, as this program expands, people will be recognized for the recognition that we gave them in the first place. What I will tell you is that, look, it is fair for people to be anxious, to be concerned, to want to know what's going to happen next. And I'm not going to belittle that. It is fair for people to want to know. But I'm not going to do that on national television because every case is different. And of course, in due course, we will be in touch with those who need to know what they need to know. But the intentions are good, right from the top, from the president's intention to set up the scheme, through down to us who are charged with implementing the scheme. Our intentions are good.
All right, we do hope that you would reach out to them because, when the citizens cannot reach the government, then they reach out to the media and they expect the media to be able to bridge that gap, which is why we're having this conversation now.
I love the conversation. You're absolutely right. The citizens have a role to play. The government has a role to play. The media has a role to play. We all have a role to play to make this society the best that it can be. I have no criticism of your asking me these questions. I welcome these questions, and I have no issues with the citizenry saying, look, what's going on with this or that or the other. It is entirely their right. They are the people who put the government in power. So, we're happy to have the questions, happy to discuss it, but, there are certain things that for one reason or the other, you have to be specific about, not general about.
Okay, and then the other part, we see you're really active on X. You tell us when you pay off and when you give out some funds. What's the update on that? I know that was an issue some time ago, but I think you've dealt with that majorly.
What was the issue?
Paying to schools, school fees, and all of that. A couple of students did go to X to say they were not, the schools weren't getting paid and all that.
Okay, all right. So look, again, there's overriding public interest in what Nelfund is doing, and it is right and welcome. The reality of it is that we have a process. People apply for these loans. We go through a process of validating, verifying, approving, having confirmed, and we then make payments. At certain stages, if we find things are untoward or not quite right, we don't make the payments. So again, what I will tell you is that we are a transparent organization. Every time we give money to a school, we ask them to acknowledge, and we publish the acknowledgement for the same reason that you're being asked this question, so that if there's a gap in your school or a gap for you, you can say, hey, look, why has that school been paid and we haven't been paid? Why has this person been paid and why haven't funds or stipends reached me? That's why we do it. This is going to be... So
there's no suspension of students' allowance?
So what has happened is that we are naturally receiving a huge number of applications. We have 1.7, close to 1.8 million applications. We have 1.6 million people that we've been paying. The 1.6 million people, a great majority of them receive monthly stipends from us. This is all in 24 months, okay? The system we started with has never failed us, but we don't want it to fail us. So we are upgrading, we are putting in more security into the system to ensure that with the overwhelming interest and support and applications, we can fix it. The simplest example I can give you is that if you build a highway, at some point, you're going to look at the traffic, the number of cars, the number of vehicles that are using that highway, and you may need to do some maintenance on that highway so that it doesn't break down, it doesn't collapse. We've built a highway, we have a number of vehicles using that highway. In our case, it's students applying to ply the highway, and at some point, we've got to say, hey, look, do we have a robust enough system? We are upgrading our systems. We're going to have something called Nelfund 2.0. Our people are working on it at the moment. And naturally, there are going to be hitches. Sometimes, in the greatest countries in the world, systems go down. It's better to shut it down and maintain it than have it go down and be struggling to
Perhaps the students were not informed. That's why people are worried. Like, we're going to have a hitch this period because we're on maintenance and upgrade. Then people would know what to expect.
So, let's be a little bit careful. We provide information on a regular basis about what we're doing. That is the absolute truth. But the reality of it is that when it comes to money, especially amongst the student population, they are naturally anxious if something is slightly delayed or something is late. I've been on programs and explained this numerous times. But I do expect more and more people to say, hey, look, what's going on? I'm expecting this money. I need this money. What I can assure you is the president is fully committed to this program. And he's the one that mandates us to ensure that nothing, absolutely nothing goes wrong with our disbursements. Absolutely nothing goes wrong with our ensuring that these funds reach the right people at the right time. The issue you're raising is about timing. It's important for us to make sure that the monies reach people at the right time. But in order for us to do that on a sustainable basis, given our projections for demand, sometimes we have to slow the timing down so that we can get it right in the long run.
And I know this is a question you must have answered a couple of times, because even I have asked the sustainability of this. Truth is, citizens in Nigeria are not so used to getting goodies from the government. And because it's been on for a couple of times or a couple of years, when they see something that seems too good to be true, they say, no, this cannot be true. So a lot of people are asking, you're giving these loans and the money keeps coming. We can't expect it to keep coming. What cycle do you have for sustenance of this much money? Because more people will obviously apply, as you have said. A lot of students are applying even now.
So let me start off by saying that the most unsustainable position we can find ourselves in this country is to continue to grow our population and provide that population with no opportunity to get an education.
Correct.
That is not just a problem from the perspective of the individual. It's a problem from the perspective of the nation. If we have a nation of uneducated, ignorant people, we're finished. What the president is trying to do is to intervene and make sure that we fix that problem, and we fix it now. In terms of long-term sustainability, as you know, what we need to do is put structures in place. I can tell you that the law that set this up allows for us not just to recover some of the funds from those who can pay when they have jobs, only when they have jobs. It also allows for us to be an integrator that allows those who want to donate into the fund for one reason or the other, for one specific group or another, to be able to receive those funds and make those funds available to those who need it. Look, at the end of the day, government is funding this today. Tomorrow, you will see a lot of private sector participation. It's one of the reasons that we're being so transparent about what we're doing. We want everyone to know where every kobo comes from and where every kobo ends up. We cannot afford to have mistrust around this system. That's the first objective that we have to ensure sustainability. But of course, the other thing I should tell you is that if we keep this going for long enough and enough people graduate, qualify in the right sorts of courses that add value to the nation, they will become taxpayers. Whatever the tax base is today can be quadrupled if we take this to a point where more and more people are employable, more and more people are educated so that they know what to do with themselves when they're managing society, managing infrastructure, managing the things that are important for this nation. So sustainability is always a challenge with any good idea, with anything you do where there's demand. If you build a road and too many cars want to use it, it can break down. How are you going to sustain the road? You put some plans in place and you put some structures in place to ensure that there's some sort of...
there's law that's protecting it, so it doesn't matter who is in Aso Rock, the law.
The president has set this up to live beyond him, beyond his tenure. I work for Nelfund, and I can tell you that the political will, the political backing from the top is that this is not a program, it's not a party program. This is a national program for everyone. And that's why it's so exciting for us to get involved. In terms of the long-term sustainability, we just need to put the laws need to be there, but of course the replenishment of funds need to be there.
Yeah.
And I've already explained from the tax base how that can happen.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Sawyer. Mr. PoliticsToday Sawyer, the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Nelfund.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure being here, and bring me on again. Let's keep talking. Let's keep the conversation going.
Yeah.
We must discuss this issue. It's too vital as a national issue for it to be personalized or swept under the carpet. Let's keep talking about this.
Correct. We'll do that. Thank you so much for coming on the program. And I hope the students are a bit happy today and relieved. We would bring him on again when you have more questions from you.